Hello, welcome to the session. In my previous session, we have gone through like various list functions or list methods. Let me tell you like now what are those. So alien, it's not a list function, but it is going to give you the length of the list, like how many elements are there in a list. You can actually get it using alien, and this is basically used for typecasting. You can convert a tuple to list, or else you can actually initialize a list like an empty list or blank list. Okay, empty list, you can do that. And then append, using append you can append elements to a given list. Using append you can append, using extend you can extend the list, and we have gone through multiple examples in my previous session. Insert, you can insert element at any given position, or you can say like index. So in this case it is always shift right. If you are giving 0, the item number 0 will be moved to position number 1. If you are giving -1, let's say -1, the last element of the list is India, and before India, if you want like um, if you want to insert USA, then what you can actually do, you can give a -1 like insert, then you can actually give the position, and then the element you can actually specify that is insert. And count is going to count the given element, return the count of a given element in the string, sorry, element in the list. Okay. And index, it is going to return the position basically. Let's say for example you are actually looking for element 10, and I mean 10 is an element which is present multiple times. For example, list allows duplicates. If you are having multiple times 10 in a list, index is going to return the first matching element. Let's say if it is present at position number 3 or index 3, it is going to return the index. But if the element is not present in the given list, or matching elements are actually not present, then you are going to experience value error. Similarly, the remove, you can actually remove element from a list, and in this case also it is going to remove the first matching element. If 10 is present 20 times in a given list, it is going to delete the first matching element from the given list. Reverse is going to reverse the list, and then similarly sort is going to like sort the particular list. And there is a difference we have already gone through, like reverse and sort versus like reverse. Let me put it here: reverse sort and reverse and sorted. Okay, reversed and sorted. Remember guys, when you are actually using reverse and sort, then what it is going to do is, let's say I have a list 1, which is 10, 20, and 30. If you are using list 1 dot reverse, in this case what it is going to do, it is going to change the original list. The L1 value will be 30, 20, and 10. And in case of sort, it is already sorted. If you want to like now sort it like this, let's say I'm just giving 2 here, then 3 here, then it should be 3, 20, and 100. Let's say for example, when you are actually using sort, then it is actually going to change the order of this particular list. Okay. So now let me do one thing. Let me open PyCharm. Here you go. Okay, so now if I'm having a list, we were actually discussing this one, right? So if I'm having this, and if I'm giving like L1 dot reverse, and then print L1, what it is going to do, it is going to reverse the given list. Okay, and it is going to change 320 and 100, it is going to change. But if you are having like another list that is L2, for example, I'm having L2 and which is 120 and 3, and if you are actually using print, you just need a copy of the element in the reverse side order. You don't actually change, then you can actually use reversed of L2. Okay, if you are giving like reverse of L2, then here you can see it is actually giving like the reverse iterator object, and you need to explicitly like cast it using a list. So you can actually definitely cast it using a list. Here you can see Here you can see the result is like a 320 and 100. Okay, so if you want like this is 320 and 100 reverse of L2, and just to distinguish this, I'm just giving like maybe I can give your India, and then I can give your US. Okay, so we can differentiate it. Now if I'm running this program, here you can see it is like three US, India and one. So this is reversed. And again, we are yet to learn like what is a tuple. But if you want to actually iterate, sorry, if you want to actually typecast as a tuple of this one, you can also do that. If you give a tuple, it is actually going to return in a tuple. So remember guys, reverse and reverse. Reverse is going to change the original list, wherein reverse is not going to change the list. Even if you want to verify like what is the content of L2 after invoking like reversed method or function. Now if we are actually going to execute, it is still one India US 3. Okay, it is not going to change that. Similarly, we do have like sorted. Let's say for example, here 120 and 3, it is not sorted. So if you want to sort it, just call sort function and then print it. Here instead of reverse, we are actually going to use like sorted. Okay, sort and sorted. Sort is also does the same thing, like it is going to change the original list, but wherein sorted is not going to change the original list, it is going to return the clone of it. I mean, they return the copy of it, like in the sorted order. Okay, so okay, one thing you should notice, like here it says like type error, because this is actually expected. Why? Because we are having the number versus string, right? If you want to actually do sorting it, like remember guys, we cannot compare a number floating point with a string. What we need to do is we can actually compare within strings. Let's say for example, one in quotes is a string, and India in quotes is also a string, but you cannot actually give the like less than symbol, basically less than or greater than symbol, whatever it is. You cannot actually specify, or you cannot actually do the sorting between floating point versus string, or like numbers versus string. All these things are actually not supported. String versus string, or else integer versus integer, or number versus number. Okay, so now if I'm running this program, here you can see it is giving one India, US and 3, and in these cases it is actually giving 1, 3 India and US. Okay, so this is like in the sorted order basically. So these are the differences between reverse sort and reversed and sorted. So make sure, like now in real time requirement, you should be careful. If you don't want to disturb the original list, then go for reversed and sorted. Okay, the methods. And if your requirement is to change the given list or original list, then use these two methods like reverse or sort. Okay, it is just D added here and DD added here. That's it. Okay, so now we are going to learn min, max, and sum. What is like min, max, and sum? So let me write a program, Python file min, max, sum. Okay, now here we go. So in min, max, and sum, what we are actually going to do is we are going to define a list, and I am just giving like list of numbers. I'm just giving 10, then 100, then I'm just giving 32, then minus 12, then I'm just giving here 232, then I'm just giving like 456, 76 minus 23, then minus 96 like this. Now if I'm giving like a print the minimum value from this list, minimum of L1. Okay, so minimum of L1, if you can see it here, it is going to return like minus 96 is the minimum one. Okay, now we want like the maximum value. We can definitely execute like max, and using max method, you can actually get the maximum value from this given list. Okay, so now if your requirement is you want to sum all the elements, you can definitely execute like sum here, sum method. If you're running this program, here you can see it is 775. Now the question is, if I'm having the combination, let's say for example 10, 20, 30, and whether we can actually execute it, let us see here like what we are actually going to get it here, India. Guys, remember in this case, if I'm giving like let's say I'm just giving like L2 and it's not going to work. Let us experience the error message over here. If I'm giving like minimum of L2, okay, now control shift F10, you are going to get the error, same error message because this is not supported. Okay, as I mentioned, we are going to get the error message here. Even if it is min, max, and all these things, it is not supported. If you want, like, okay, you want to find out the minimum of strings. Let's say, for example, we are having the country names or we are having server names. You want to sort it or you want to get the minimum value, basically based on the ASCII value. In that case, it is possible to get the minimum. Okay, but here you can see it is returning 10. Okay, string minimum is possible, but if you want to give like maximum, in this case, maximum of this, maximum of L2, we can also get the output of maximum of L2. But if you are giving like print sum is intended for only integers, only numbers. Okay. If I'm giving this, let us see like now what is going to happen. Guys, remember here, like let us fetch the documentation and see like when the iterable is empty, return the stat value. This function is intended, as I mentioned, it is intended for use of numeric values. Okay, and it may reject non-numeric types. Let us see like now what's going to happen here. If I'm actually running this program, here you can see unsupported type, integer and str. So we cannot actually do that. We cannot sum it. Okay, as I mentioned, like we cannot actually do the sum because it is intended for integers only. Okay, or numbers only. So now this is like minimum, maximum, and the sum. And basically, whenever the requirement is to clear the list, then what we can actually do, let's say I'm having like now the list 2 is there, I want to clear it. Okay, so what I can do is I can specify L2 dot clear, L2 dot clear. Now print L2. Now in this case, what is going to happen? It is going to it's going to nullify the particular list. Okay, empty the particular list. So L2 dot clear. Whenever it is needed to clear the list, you can definitely call the clear function or clear method. Now let us like go through another program to understand like how do I delete it. Let's say this is clear. The variable is still there in the memory, but having like null value. Now if your requirement is to delete it, like how do we delete it? Okay, let us get familiar with like now delete, and then I'm just going to tell like clear. Okay, so now here we go. Let's say this is my value and I want to actually clear it, then I can definitely give like clear, but it's not deleting it. I can actually delete it. Let's say for example I'm just giving del of L2. Del of L2 is actually going to delete. Now if I give like a print L2, in this case it is going to throw error because we are deleting L2. Let us execute and see like what's going to happen here. Here you can see name error because the L2 is not defined. Okay, L2 is not defined. But once you are actually deleting, it's gone forever. You cannot actually use a print statement here. But if you are actually using del L2, let's say for example temporary variables you are using in a function, or temporary variables you are using in your program, and you want to delete the scope of a particular variable or delete it permanently, then it is not clear, it is del. Del, using del, you can actually delete, okay? And del, you should not enclose in brackets or anything. You just give, let's say, for example, one variable here, you want three variables to be deleted, just specify the variables separated by space, okay? Now, if I'm running this program, I'm not going to get any error message, okay? It is empty and clear. So this is the difference. Now, let's say I have another list here. I have another list here. I'm just going to take the list from here. This is L1, okay? And I'll just put it here. This is my L1 list. And my requirement is to delete 100. My requirement is to delete 100. Now what I can do is, I can say delete L1 of 1. It is going to delete 100. Okay, now if I'm giving here print, or I can actually do one thing, L1 of, let's say, 1 I have actually deleted, the delete, I'm just using L1 of, let's say, last three elements, -1, -2, -3. I can specify -3 colon -1 colon -1. Okay, so now here I'm just giving print L1. Let us see like now what's going to happen. Now look at here, guys. When I'm specifying this, it is just check it here. Okay, I'm just giving -3 to -1 because this one is actually not inclusive. Okay, this one is not inclusive. If you want like to delete last three, then you can actually give like 0 here. It is going to delete. Okay, so now if I'm executing this now, here you can see 10 -23 -96. So 10 -23 -96. So these three are actually deleted. Let's say, for example, if you want to actually delete only the last element, you can specify -1. Okay, let's say, for example, you want to delete this, let's say L1 of -1. That means it is going to delete -96. Let's say, for example, here if I'm going to run this program here, -96 is gone. And if your requirement is delete the position number 2 till 4. 2 till 4, we can actually specify 2 5 because 5 is not inclusive. It is going to delete 2 to 2 till 5. Control Shift F10 and 5 time to execute the program. Here you can see 10, 32, 76 and -23. So this is how you can actually delete the part of the list basically. Okay, this is partial traversal basically, we can say, using slice operator. And you can actually delete the last element, delete the element number 1, that is like the second element basically here, because this is actually in the index. So now if your requirement is delete permanently, so what you can actually do is you can give delete L1, delete L1. And if you do delete L1, then you are going to get error message. So what you need to do is you need to make sure you are not referencing to the list once it is deleted. It is done. So now if I'm running this program, here you can see it is printing, then it is deleting. If I put a print statement after the del, I'm just going to get the error message. So this is the difference between delete and clear. Delete and clear. Now I'm going to tell you another example, like to understand the difference between delete and remove. Let us understand that by example. Here I'm just giving like a delete and remove example. So in the delete and remove example, I have a list here. Let's say, let me repeat some values like 10, 10. I've just given here like again 12, and then giving 12, and then giving 10 again, 10 again. Now, if I want to remove, let's say I'm just giving L1 dot remove, and I'm just giving like remove 10. L1 dot remove 10. Now remove 10 because 10 is a integer, so we need to actually give this way. Okay, so now if I give like print of L1, what it is going to do, it is going to remove the first element. So the first element was 10 10 here, 10 10 here. and then first 10 is actually removed. Now you can see 10, 12, 12. So the first element has been removed because that is the first matching occurrence. To understand it well, like if I change it to like now 1, you can actually see it here. Okay, so now if I'm running this program, here you can see the first 10 has been removed, but the second 10 is actually available over here. So remove you can use whenever you are deleting by values. Okay, so this is actually delete by value because we are specifying the value. And if you want to actually remove by index, so what you can actually do L1, or you can simply give like del L1. Let's say my requirement is to delete the let's say index number 2 or 3 or whatever it is. So I can, let's say 232 for example. So 232 we are actually deleting, removing the 10. So the 232 will be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I can say here like delete L1 of 4 and then print of L1. Here you can see. Now Control Shift of 10. Here you can see that 232 is actually done. So this is delete by position. Delete by position or index. So whenever your requirement is to delete something based on index, you have to use del, that is del. And if you want to delete something based on the value, basically remove something based on your matching requirement, you can actually go ahead with the remove. So this is the difference between remove and delete. And using remove, you cannot actually remove the particular variable, in this case L1, but using delete, you can delete the entire list in this case. So that's all about the list methods. So we have actually gone through mean, max, sum, then clear, and then we are actually familiar with del and remove. And there are two more methods, copy and pop. Copy is an interesting method. Like definitely it is going to copy, but why we need a copy method over here? Let us try to understand why we need copy. Like copy example, okay? So now here we go. The copy example. Let's say I have the list, the same list I'm just taking, okay, instead of typing it again, and then I'm just giving L2 equals to, or I can actually shorten it a little bit. Here we go, and 111. Okay, so now if I'm giving L2 equals to L1, now see here what is going to happen. If print, there is a method known as ID. It is going to return the identification or ID of particular variable. Now in this case, I'm just giving what is the ID of L1 and what is the ID of L2. Now it is going to return the IDs are actually same. If I'm running this program here, you can see the IDs are actually same. Now one interesting fact here you can actually observe. Let's say for example, I'm just giving L2 dot append. Okay, I'm just giving append, like what to append. I'm just giving append 12 12. Okay, now if I'm giving okay, before I do this, let me print L2. Now print L1 basically. Now I have just appended to L2. Now print L2, then print L1, print L1. Now what is going to happen? Let us see here. Now here you can see it was earlier 10, 1, 12, 12, and then 111 was the last element. And then the IDs are actually same and lists are actually mutable, right? And then in this case, here I'm actually executing L2.append to L12. So now I'm just appending using L2, but here you can see the 12, 12 is also added to L1. Now if I'm going to do, let's say for example, let's say I'm just going to remove, let's say L1 dot remove and 12. Now print L1 and print L2. It is also going to remove the first occurrence of 12. The first occurrence of 12 has been removed. Now look at here, the first occurrence of 12 has been removed. So now guys remember, whenever you are actually copying this, so this kind of copy is known as dip copy. Dip copy. I'm not sure if you're familiar with deep copy and shallow copy. Deep copy is pointing to the address. Okay, in this case, we are having in case of Python, we have same IDs. Okay, same IDs we are referencing to. So whenever you want to do a deep copy, that is like any change should actually change the other list as well, then go ahead with the deep copy. Okay, so now whenever the requirement is to not to copy, not to disturb the original list, only what we need to do is, only what we need to do is, we need to refer a copy of that particular variable. Let's, for example, L1 is 10, 1, 12, 12, 111. You just need a copy of it. In that case, what you can actually do, you can definitely specify here, let's say L3, I'm just adding L3 equals to L1 dot copy. L1 dot copy. It's like going to get a copy of L1. You are going to get the copy of L1. So, and this doesn't, like, let's say for example, if I'm going to check what is the value of L3, the value of L3 there will be like no change. If I'm running this program, here you see the original list was 10, 1, 12, 12, 111. This was the original list. And L3 still contains the same values. But wherein, like we did a append operation and we did a remove operation, the L1 and L2 got changed, but L3 there is no change, no impact because we are using L1 dot copy. And this type of copy is known as shallow copy. Shallow copy is just a copy of the elements. One is deep copy, other one is actually shallow copy. So if someone is asking about like what is the difference between shallow copy and deep copy, this is the smallest example you can actually explain. This is the difference. Like whenever you are actually doing L1 equals to L2 or L2 equals to L1 in this case, then any changes to L1 will reflect in L2. Any changes to L2 is going to reflect in L1 because their addresses are actually same or ID is actually same. But in case of L3 equals to L1 dot copy, the IDs are actually different. Okay, the IDs are actually different. If you want to see here, like the ID of L3, basically, like here you can see Control Shift F10. Here we go. Here you can see this is actual copy, so the ID is different. So L3 ID is different, while in L1 and L2 IDs are actually same. Okay, so this is all about the copy. Okay, and then the last method we have actually used it multiple times. Let me tell you that is an interesting method that is known as pop, like list pop. Pop is a method, and we can actually go through the pop example. So here we go, and let's say I have the same set of elements, or I can actually take a larger list. Let's say L1 is this, and then we should always give a meaningful name, but I'm just using L1 for list one. So now here I can actually specify. Let us try was using like while loop. Let's say while L1, then we need to specify like this, print L1 dot pub, L1 dot pub. Okay, now here you can say pub. So ideally in stack operations, we'll be like dealing with this pop operation. Let's say, for example, control shift F10 to run the program in PyCharm. Here you can see the result. Like pub 96, pub 23, minus 23, pub 76. Then the last pub was done on 10, element number 0. Now here you can see like 96. Pub means it is going to pub the list, pub the element from a given list, and without specifying the index, it is going to pop the last element always. Okay, which is same as, let's say for example, I'm having this, and then I can specify, let's say for example, L2. This is my list, and then here I'm just giving like my L2. Okay, and L2 dot pop, L2 dot pop. Here I can give -1. It's same because you're explicitly telling, get me the last element. So you can actually do this. So now if I'm running this program, here you can see it is actually popping like now there are two times because one is for L1 and then the other one is actually for L2. So the popping is done, and if you want to differentiate, I can actually have a asterisk mark over here. Like now let us print asterisk mark multiplied by 60 times. Now control shift of 10. Now here we go. Here you can see the first part of the pop is this and then the second part of pop is this. So remember guys, like pop is same as pop minus 1. It is going to like now going to pop the last element always. What if your requirement is you want to actually pop it from the beginning? You want to pop it from the beginning, then what we can actually do? We can definitely do this using pop 0. Okay, pop 0. If you give here any index, we can actually give like a 0 here. It is going to pop it from the beginning. Okay, and pop 0 always pops the first element. Okay, so now in this case, what it is going to do, let us print it differently. Just what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to print L2.pub0. Then I can specify like separation. It's not separation. It should be like end equals to I can give like double hyphen and then this. Okay, now look at here. Now control set of 10. Here you can see it is popping like 10, 1, 12, then 12, then 10, then 232, then 96, then the list is becoming empty here. If I want to print like now the list, what happened to L3, or here I'm just using the same L2, that's fine. So I have just initialized the same value to like L2 again reassigning. Now here you can see if I'm running this program, it is actually becoming empty. Like it is starting from 10, becoming empty. If you want to print it in the same order, you can actually do that. Okay, so this is how the pop is actually working. Then you can actually ask like whether we can actually pop it using a for loop. Absolutely, we can actually do that. Let us do that. Let us pop using for loop. I want to pop it. Now here we go. Python file list pop operation using for loop. So this is my list, and then my requirement is to pop it. Let's say I'm just I as an iterator, or like now the range I'm going to iterate. So I'm just giving like I as an iterator, okay, or iteration, anything you can say. Let's say range of length of L1. Here we go, and I in I'm just missing here. I in range of this one. Then I can specify here print, and I want to pop it like based on the index. Then in this case, what we can actually do is we can definitely specify like this, like let's say pop up. I want to do it from the beginning. I can give like pop up I and then hyphen hyphen, or I can specify end equals to hyphen hyphen arrow. Then that's it. Then just giving a print here. Now, if I do like control shift of 10 to execute the program, the pop is not defined. Okay, it is L1.pop. L1.pop up I. Now, if I'm running this program, here you can see pop index is out of range. Why it is actually out of range? Length of L1, that is 0, and then we are actually okay. It should be always 0 actually. Why? Because uh, it should not be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 13. Like once it is popped, then the size will be like reducing, right? So and that is the reason. So it should be like L1 pop up with 0, and then we should actually always pop it from the beginning. Pop up 0, and you can actually do this. Ideally, we use like while we want to actually loop it through, what we can actually do is we can actually do this way. And whenever you want like the list to be printed, you can actually do this. Anything you can actually do, whether it is a while loop, whether it is a for loop, we can actually do this. And similarly, if you want in the reverse order, then what we can actually do is we can instead of 0, we can have -1. Here we go, and I can give like -1, and if I'm running this program, but it's going to reverse order of popping in the reverse order like -96, -23, 76 till 10, and then the list is becoming empty. Okay, so this is how you can actually deal with using a for loop or a while loop. If your preference, you should always give like when you are iterating. This is my personal preference again. Like use while loop so that you should not actually use range and length again. If you really want to use that, you can actually do that. And there is another way. Also in for loop, it is pretty much straightforward. Let's say, for example, if I'm having this loop, then I can definitely do here, like let's say I want to pop it in the reverse order. I can definitely give like L1 colon colon -1 colon colon -1 and then print pop up 0. This is also you can actually do a print pop-up 0. Now, what it is going to do is you can actually see, let us see, I think it's going to support, let us see like now what it is going to do. 10, okay, so it should be -1. Anything is fine. Like, this is not sort of required also. Like, you just give this, it is going to work. Okay, you just give this, it is going to work. Okay, so now here 96 and all these things you can actually specify. Okay, so now whenever it is needed, you want to actually definitely go ahead, deal with whatever the things you want. You can actually definitely go ahead, iterate it through. So there are many other ways that we can actually perfect and like based on the real time requirement. The real time when we are actually going to use these methods, let's say for example pub, you are invoking a web service and you are getting like let's say list of elements from one of the website, or in the JSON format you got a list of elements and all, and you want to like iterate it, and then you want to, as soon as the iteration is done, the item should be actually removed from the list, then go for pop. Do not actually process it using like one by one, then removing it using either del or like remove or whatever it is, right? For operation, if a requirement is like iterate and remove, then go for pop. Don't do delete over there. Don't use like an iteration followed by delete explicitly. Don't do that. Go ahead with the pop. Pop is the direct method which is available in the list. Okay. So this is all about the lists. Now, what is next? The next topic is tuple, and in the tuple, we are going to learn like now how to initialize the tuples and what is the definition of the tuples, how to traverse it, what are the operations supported on tuple, and what are the methods supported on tuple. So let us get started with the next topic, that is tuple. So in the tuple, guys, remember tuple is immutable. List we can actually change. Tuple we cannot actually change. Tuple is a immutable item, okay, or immutable data type. So now, how do we define tuple? That is quite interesting. What we can actually do here is we'll just go ahead with the tuple definition. First, let us do that and then learn through example. Now, tuple definition. So here I'm just giving like top one equals to, I'm just giving you 10, 20, and 30. Remember guys, tuple, like how do you define the variable, then equal to symbol, then the values will be closed in parentheses or round brackets, you can actually say. Now if I'm specifying print, what is the type of this top one? Top one is my tuple one. It is going to return as class tuple. Okay, this is going to return as class tuple. Okay, So now if you want to actually the the tuple edges, you can definitely execute print tuple 1. You can actually get the output as tuple 1 is actually 10, 20, and 30. And then if you want to print the first element of tuple 1, the same as list, it starts with 0 and it ends with -1. We do have positive indexing, we do have negative indexing too. Let's say I'm just giving 40, 50, and 60, for example, okay? Now, if I'm giving here, and then you can see it here, like, it is getting the first elements. If you want to print the element number 3, you can specify the element number 3. Okay, so now if I'm printing this, it is like now element number 3 is this. Now if you want to print element number 3 to 6, then you can specify 3 comma 7. It is going to 3 comma 7. 7 is not there. Let me add like a few more values over here, like 89, then 98. Okay, now here we go. It is fronting like the 40, 50, 60, and 70. Okay, so this is how you can say like printing the tuple. Remember guys, the definition of a tuple is read only. We cannot actually add anything to a tuple. Let's say once defined, it is actually like as is we should refer. As a programmer, we have like solutions to it. Let's say if your real requirement is modifying a tuple, what you need to do is you need to cast the tuple to a list, change the values, and then again cast it back to tuple. But that is not the default behavior of the Python programming. Okay, so tuple is read only. So whenever a requirement is to make something read only, then in that case you should actually use for tuple. Let's say for example, what are things? Oh, think about like a company name. It's not going to change unless there is a like takeover, right? The company name should be read only. Your first name, your last name is not going to change unless you are actually legally changing it. Similarly, there are certain properties or certain data elements in your programming is not going to change. For example, you are using like some paid services and the API is lifetime free, and you have generated the API key and API secret, and you want to actually store it the the API endpoint and API key and then the API token basically in a tuple. You can actually do that because throughout the program it is not going to change. So whenever you feel like something should not change throughout your program and you want to actually make it read only, then go for tuple. And why do we need tuple? We can actually do the same thing. Think about like now we are having a tuple which is having list of numbers. Okay. Now if you want to actually do this, let's say for example, I can give num1 equals 10, num2 equals 20, num3 equals 30. Similarly, num10 equals 98 or whatever it is. Like how many elements? You need 10 variables. So in that case, if you're using a tuple or using a list, you are actually what you are doing one variable. You are actually storing multiple values, then you are referring it using the indexes. Index starts with 0 till the length -1 basically. So if 10 elements are there, then the index is actually going to end at 9. How do you get the length? It is using the Boolean method. Similarly, you can actually use the negative indexing, -1, -2, -3, and you can actually do that. Let us go by example. Let us look at here. I'm just giving like now get me the element number -1, and it is going to give you the element number -1, that is nothing but 98, and you want the element number -1 to -5. -1 colon -5 then colon -1. Now in this case what you're going to get is -1 -2 -3 -4, -1 -2 -3 and -4. So you exactly were actually getting this. So this is how you can actually use tuple. So tuple, we can actually define the tuple with various data types. Let's say for example, in this case, the tuple is defined using only numbers, right? And if you want a tuple with different data types, let's say for example, I want like 10 or details about Subbu, for example, I've just given the name as Subbu. Let me delete everything and then get started again from the beginning. So Subbu, Here we go. And then I'm just specifying my country, that is India. And then I'm just giving like year is 2022. And then I'm just giving like some other information. Let's say my bank balance, though it is not the correct bank balance, so I'm just giving like 45. And let's say I'm just giving like some boolean values over here. Let's say for example true, and this is a tuple 2 for example. Okay, so tuple can actually contain the combination of strings, floating point numbers, like the number basically, like it could be a decimal number or a floating point number. Then it can contain like boolean values, true, false, and everything is possible here. Okay, so now here you go. Here say like Subbu India 2022, then all these things. Okay, now you can do one thing. Let's say for example tuple let's say tuple 3. I want to define a tuple, let's say Subbu, and then here I'm just giving like a TP, and then here I've just given like none. Okay, so this is also possible. Let's say print, if I'm specifying tuple 3, tuple 3, here you can see the result is like having none. So tuples can contain none. And one interesting fact I'm just going to tell you, whenever you are having tuple 4, let's say tuple 4 equals to 10 comma, I have told you that tuples would be enclosed in round brackets. But here tuple is having only one element. If it is containing only one element, can I actually use like 10 comma? Absolutely, we can actually use like 10 comma. So this is the key takeaway from this example. Okay, so whenever a tuple contains like one element, do not specify in moon bracket, and this is supported in Python 3.x. Okay, so if I'm running this program, here you can see it is actually printing like a 10 comma. If you want like now what is this type, you can definitely give a type of tuple 4. Now tuple 4, here where you see it is saying like it's a tuple. Okay, so now class is tuple. Now, if you are giving, okay, and you have like these values, like you are giving 10, 20, comma 30, and like giving tuple 5 here, let us see like what's going to happen. Tuple 5 here in the previous one, I've told like the tuple with one element. Now in this case, what is going to happen? Let us see. It is also possible like whenever your class is actual tuple, even if you are actually not enclosing, even if you are not enclosing in moon bracket, it is also going to work. But there is a key takeaway. Don't do this mistake in real time. Let's say tuple 6. If I'm giving 100, okay, I'm thinking like tuple 6 is a like type of tuple 6 is tuple. It is actually incorrect. It is not going to return you as like tuple, because if tuple is having one element, you should not. This is not a tuple. This is not a tuple. This is not a tuple. Okay, so if you are actually doing your skill assessment anywhere and you are having like this type of questions, right, it is returning int. I clearly mentioned this is not a tuple. Then how do we fix it? Either you give 10 comma, or else what you can definitely do is you can specify 10 comma 100 comma here. Okay, so now tuple 7, here I can give like a tuple 7. This is a tuple. This is a tuple. Now, if I'm running this program, here you can say this is a tuple. So these are things. Let us revisit like what we have actually gone through. You can define a tuple like this using moon bracket. Then elements should be separated by comma, and then you can access the tuple using the variable name, and you can check the type using type method. You can access any element. You can access using slicing operator, that is part of the tuple. Negative index is actually allowed when you can actually print negative using the negative indexes. You can print the elements. Then tuples can contain any data types, including boolean, strings, list, anything it can contain. And tuple can contain non-data type. Okay, none is a special data type in Python. And whenever you are having elements like, let's say for example, here you have given 10, 20, 30, 10 comma, and there is no moon bracket, this will be treated as tuple. But whenever, here we go, so tuple 5, okay. So now here you can see tuple 6, which is 100, but this is actually int type, okay. This type is actually int, type is int, okay. And then print type of tuple 7, where is tuple 7? This is a tuple, I think something got deleted. So now here we go, tuple 7, and here we have to specify a comma over here, okay. So this is going to return a tuple. If I'm running this program, here you can see the result. Okay, class tuple and all these things you can actually see it here, okay. So the next type of tuple definition, like here we have understood like now how to define tuples, various kind of tuples, zero elements. Then zero elements we have not gone through. I'll tell you like now zero elements, how do you specify it? So whenever you want to have it like a tuple with an empty tuple, basically let's say I'm just giving tuple 8 equals to this, and I'm just giving like a print of tuple 8 and then type of tuple 8. Okay, now let us see like now what is the result of the last tuple basically. So it is a class tuple. Okay, so now this is how you can actually define an empty tuple. Let me move it to another program, it is becoming hectic here. Okay, so now I'm just going here, now Python, new Python file, and tuple definition again, example 2. Now here we'll deal with like an empty tuple. This is how we can actually do with empty tuple. Empty tuple. Okay, and also we can actually do let's say top 9 or top 7. Let us do it in the reverse order, like a top 8. Now it is top 7. I'm just giving like a tuple, just a tuple, and then print of tuple 7, and followed by the type of tuple 7. Type of tuple 7. Here we go. If you're running this program, here you can see this is actually nothing but tuples. Okay, these are empty tuple. Again, this is empty tuple. So whenever the requirement is to initialize the tuple and no elements or empty tuple, you can actually prefer this one or this one. Anything is fine. And let's say I'm having a list. Let's say L1 equals to I'm just giving like always giving numbers. So now let us like take strings. You can actually have anything here. Let's say they were, and then I'm just giving here say. Okay. So now if I'm giving like L2 or T2, I'm just T2 equals tuple of L1. Now let us see what it is going to return. Like a print tuple of, sorry, print T2. That's it. Okay. If I'm running this program, here you can see Subbu, Deva, and Sai, and it's a tuple. So this is known as casting to tuple. Okay, list is casted to tuple. Now this is how you can actually do it, like now tuple method to create an empty tuple, or just only the moon brackets to create a tuple, or you can actually use the tuple method to cast it to tuple. Like now from the list, you can actually cast it to tuple, and vice versa is also possible. Let's say I have a T3, that is tuple 3 equals to uh, let's say I'm having a range of numbers, let's say 12, 32, 45. Okay. Now, here I'm just giving L3 equals to list of T2. So, vice versa is possible as I mentioned. Now, here if you see L3 is going to get return you as a list. Now, if I'm running this program, here you can see what happened. Like L3 is actually, it should be T3. Okay, so now if I'm running this program, here you can see list 12, 32, and 45 is a list where like now using list you can actually convert a tuple to a list, and using tuple you can convert a a list to a tuple. So these are the takeaways, like the of the tuple definition. One more example, like nested tuple. Basically, we can have tuple inside tuple. Let's say something like this. I have, like let's say employee equals to I have the first element, then the second element, then I do have the third element. Okay. Now here I've just given your guess, and I've just given, like let's say your guess is in TCS and since 2022, and let's just here I'm just giving Deepak. Deepak is in, let's say I'm just giving I get, and here I've just given 2021. Here I've just given they were, and then giving LTT, and here I've just given, like maybe 2018. Okay, so now here you see it is a tuple, but inside tuple I have another tuple. Let's say if I'm giving, like print of EMP, it is going to print. It is going to print the tuple as is. Let's say you want to print of EMP of EMP of like 0. It is going to print the record of your guess. Now, okay, so it is like EMP of 0. Okay, now record of your guess. Okay, so now if you want the company of your guess, then what you need to give? You can actually run the program and specify 0. Let's say this is actually the 0th element is actually your guess, right? EMP of 0. In EMP of 0, you want the second element, that is nothing but the index 1. If index 1 is actually going to print TCS. Now, if we are giving this, you can actually have TCS. Now, we can, it is not like tuple can only contain tuple. Tuple can contain list too. Let's say your guess data is a list. Okay, your guess data is a list, and Deva's data is also a list. Okay, and Deepak's data is a read-only copy, and we have a tuple. In this case, I want to, like refer Deva's record. I can Deva's record. I want to print LTT. I can specify printf. Printf. This is 0, 1, 2. This is the second element. From the second element, 0, 1 to 2 is the index. Then you need the second element here, that is 0, 1. So it should be 2 of 1. So if I'm giving like the 2 of 1, just to avoid naming over here, like I've just given 1. Now here you see, here it is printing like LTT. Okay. You can literally iterate. You can literally iterate the tuples, the elements, whatever is there, and we are actually going to learn during our traversal. Okay, so that's all about, like how do you define the tuples. And dealing with the tuples, there are again like various ways we can actually deal with the tuple. And like we can traverse the tuple using a for loop, traverse the tuple using while loop, and traverse using positive indexes, traverse using range and length combination. All these operations are actually possible. Whatever we have done in list, we can actually do using tuples too. Sorry, in tuples too, you can actually use the same thing. So that's all about for today. And in tomorrow's session, I'm just going to cover like tuple traversal and tuple methods. Our tuples are actually read-only. We have very less methods in tuple, and we can actually complete the traversal and then basically the traversal, and as well as the operations what we can actually use, like concatenation, uh, replication, membership, and all these operators we can actually use tomorrow. And then as well as I'm just going to tell you about like how do we use like the methods on a tuple. So that's all about for today.